Good morning, hello, good afternoon, wherever you are, and it's another episode of No Foolish Squash Questions. My name is Paul Frank. I'm director of Squash Tigers, as you see on my shirt, in New Jersey. My colleague to my right, to my left, to the other side of me anyway, is Colin White, who is up at the Hackley School. How are you, buddy?
I'll just show off my shirt if you're showing off your shirt.
Showing off the muscles. Always a good thing. And everything well in your world?
Everything's good. Everything's good.
So for today, Colin and I were brainstorming what we might want to do in terms of questions. And one of the most prevalent things pointed out to us was, what should we have in our kit bag? And it's a story as old as time itself. But rather than a tale of 50 things, what we did was the top 5 things that you might forget or might not emphasize enough to have in your kit bag if you're going to go to things that are important. So fine, with training, occasionally we can afford to forget something. But we're going to a big tournament, a JCT, a Gold, a US Open, whoever you are. But what are the 5 things not to forget? Because I'm sure, certainly in the case of Colin, I'm sure we've forgotten them all at one stage or another. Anyway, Colin, kick us off, buddy. What's your number 1?
Well, I'm going to go with the +1. The +1 to have in the bag of an extra racket, an extra grip, an extra T-shirt, an extra pair of shorts. Those are the extra little things that when things go wrong, you can just, you know where the stuff is and you can just go into your bag and it's there. You're not running around the club looking for that extra racket to borrow off somebody. We just had some ladder matches and one of our kids broke his racket. We won't mention it was in bad temper, but he broke his racket. And then suddenly he's running around looking to borrow a racket from some of his teammates. Me personally, I would have went, I don't think so, but he was lucky enough to find a kind teammate. But that +1 should be in there.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the +1. My favorite, but possibly forgettable one is more targeted, shall we say, the under 17, maybe under 19 brigade. And it is still a +1, but that second pair of shoes tends to be the most neglected thing in my world. So especially if you're a sweaty animal like I was when I was playing, or just in general terms, that second pair of shoes is vital. So if I'm playing twice in a day, the last thing I want to be doing is putting on wet shoes for the second one. I think Colin and I have both been in climates where we've actually sweated through a pair of shoes and it ended up being quite unsteady underfoot because you've sweated that much. And my perennial favorite is, and if you haven't played a lot, it's probably never happened to you, but you know, when you tie your laces up quick and you break the darn lace. And now the tendency of that to happen just at the worst moment. You know, you're going on for the final and you give the shoes a little bit of an extra pull and you do that lace. So always have 2 sets of shoes, 2 sets of worn-in squash shoes in your bag, and be happy to use the darn things. So boring, but true.
Well, as you say, true. Yesterday, we had another example of just that with one of our guys turning up without his shoes. And I'm trying to put the ladder matches on. One kid goes, "Oh, can I go on after him because he's actually wearing my shoes?" Yes, that's a long conversation I need to have between both of them. But anyway, yeah, the good old shoes.
Anyways, that's number 2. Number 3 is yours.
So I'm going to go with some energy bars, some gels. I'm just going to tell a quick story that I was fortunate to be at the World Open many years ago in Qatar, and I'm just sort of walking along with my player, and suddenly a top 5 player, I think around that time, comes running out, and he goes, "Do you have any snacks that you can give me?" And I went, like, I've got nothing here. I can go and look for something. He goes, "I'm one love down," and I'm like, I'm suffering. So I go off, and unfortunately, the best that I could find for him was a tin of Coke and a Mars bar. I come back. He's 2 love down. I give him the stuff. He sort of crams it into him, goes on to win the match 3-2. So, but the moral of the story is we can do a lot better than a tin of Coke and a Mars bar. So if we plan for it and we have some stuff, I had the same conversation with my guys. Some of them came in for training and going, "Oh, I'm hungry." And I said, "You come into my squash bag and it's just like always something is there. Always a snack is there to top up on." And they're walking out of lunch every day. Maybe they should just always just make it a habit. Grab a banana, grab an apple, grab something that they can bring with them. And that's your best nutrition there.
That's a good solid number 3. Number 4, and again, none of this is exciting, but I think one of the cool things, and especially about your stories and things like the World Open, is that you find that everyone at some stage has made a mistake. So the key thing isn't that you make a mistake and you're a bad squash player or a bad coach or whatever else. The key thing is you make a mistake and hopefully you learn from it. And again, Colin and I certainly over a cup of coffee on many occasions have seen some of the world's best and brightest players do slightly silly things. But we might want to copy their drop shot, but we don't necessarily want to copy their preparation sometimes. Other guys are perfect, but sometimes. And it's a random thing to say, one of my big favorites is you need a towel. I mean, granted, when I was a young man, I was busy reading The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and it was always bring your towel. But by the same token, in between games, a number of times I found somebody, particularly in hot conditions, which is trying to get the sweat off their arm or get their racket grip dry, or just get ready to go back into action and find stuff everywhere. And the last thing you want to be doing is hunting through, trying to find a clean shirt to wipe your face with. So I'd be amazed the number of times, certainly amongst, especially the young men who, again, are mostly the sweaty beasts, just needing just that towel, just dry stuff down before you get back into the heat of battle again. It's a thing, not the end of the world, but one of those things that people forget more often than we might like them to.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. I came across remember one of my players playing on a court which was becoming quite slippery, and another coach sort of saying to me, "Well, one of my solutions to that is to have hairspray, and I'll spray the bottom of the shoe, and that gives the shoe that little bit more grip." So it's just funny the things that you never actually tried it, but well, I'm not someone who carries hairspray around with me very much, but yeah, there you go.
Making it clear that we're not endorsing this, but we are open to ideas from other coaches and other players, and you can always learn from everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway, final one. Have you got a novelty one we might not have thought of, Colin?
I'm going with the other side of the nutrition and hydration, and having a water bottle and some electrolytes. Again, that's a conversation we've had with my varsity team. What's one thing that we can do better today? And that was we picked that getting away from drinking Gatorade at matches. That I'm not saying Gatorade is not good, so especially if Gatorade wants to give any sponsorship. But again, could we do better? Can we just go with a water bottle, water, electrolyte tablets, one, less chemicals that you're putting in your body, probably less sugar, and a lot better for the environment. So that was one thing that we could control, that we could do better. So hydration.
And keeping with that, on exactly the same point where you were then, mate, I hate it when people try and live off the land. So you sort of arrive, and although they may be drinking exactly what you just said, but trying to buy a water bottle or trying to find a water fountain or trying to live off the land. It's like they've been, on an episode of "You've Dropped Me in the Jungle. How do I make it through the day?" Let's not rely on having to live off the land. Not every club you go to will be salubrious enough to have all the water bottles and all the the electrolytes, all the snacks, all the everything that you love. So sometimes if you don't bring it, it's a bit like camping. If you don't bring it, you ain't gonna have it. But anyway, mate, we better call it quits. Get off quickly. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
And we need to do it
even
soon.
Better. It's great to see that lovely squash court behind you.
Some people
might think that that's some sort of backdrop, but that's the real thing.
It's a good point. Actually, I should have said that at the start. It's getting there, buddy. It's getting there. The hot pink goes quite well with my favorite shirts. So life is good. Okay, buddy. Thanks again, and we'll talk soon.
All the best. Cheers.